Good morning. Yep, everything good? Yep. Yep. So, my heart is a bit troubled this morning, and I can't quite figure out why. I had a really lovely day in the Lord yesterday. Was reminded by this speaker that Archie went to go see and then got a CD of. And at first when I got in the car, named Rabia Lamort, and she was reminding, and it was funny, I'd actually read the same thing in this Spurgeon book in the morning about the benefits and joys of praying out loud with your full normal voice, and that to find a not a sacred space, but a sacred space and a separate space, as Christ warned against those Pharisees and those holy men who stand on street corners praying loudly for their own aggrandizement, for their own benefit, but rather find a place where it's you and the Lord, and speak those words and those desires into the world. He can read our minds, he can read our hearts, but he gave us power in words, and Christ was the Word and spoke the universe into being. And I've been writing my prayers lately for that reason, as a cementing in a "so it is written," so it doesn't. As with all things in this life, I think it's important for things to go beyond the "oh man, wouldn't it be cool to," or the thought-bound chains of process, and they've got to get out in the world, and they have to at least be said out loud, or they have to be written down, or they have to, to help make them real, to shepherd them along to be more than just mere concepts. So I was enjoying that yesterday and doing that on a drive while driving. Traffic can be an excellent place to find isolation, and it was lovely and powerful and connected and gorgeous, and felt quite close to the love of God. And there's a lot of prayer. There's a lot of prayer needed in even just physically. In various parts of my family. Archie was sick early this week. I have this eye thing. Every time I put a contact in, it gets irritated. And as an actor, that is no bueno. And my brother might have to have surgery somewhere in the next month or so. And so there was a lot for me to be praying about in the car, and weeping with joy about. And so that's what I was praying about. And then, as always, I have never been a patient person, and that can be linked to many of my character flaws, or many of the ways in which sin and selfishness has manifested itself in my life, that the Lord has drawn me away from and transformed me around, and continues to do so, and needs to continue to do so, as I am certainly not there yet. But patience is still the hardest. That's the hardest thing, because I believe, and I believe beyond belief, but my time is not the Lord's time, and that's the hardest thing, man. Not having a mind on the eternal, but not having an eternal mind can be so frustrating, because I believe in the power of yes and let's do this, and but then when that happens, I'm like, okay, cool, so is it done yet? But I also do I am aware of how much I have to learn about patience, and how much about this world I still need to learn, and how much about His heart. So this is me talking myself out of being impatient. And the rest of the day, I will just let him guide me to where I need to be settled. funnily enough, none of this has anything to do with what I'm going to talk about, but I felt like I wanted to talk about it anyway because I don't often share at length of myself, and so that's what I'm going through. So throw some prayers of your own out there for me if you would. Likewise, I would love to return the favor. Let me know what you need. God desires to give it to you. God desires to know you, desires to save you from death, transform you from your life of death, of life lived for death, and in all that means. Being a slave to sin, being a slave to yourself, being a slave to anything of this world, which will all pass away, will all crumble to dust, end up the poop of worms. I want to just read a thing from Spurgeon. Under the New Testament, God is not an atom less severe than of the old. And under the covenant of grace, the Lord is not a particle less righteous than under the law. We are so saved by mercy that no sin goes unpunished. The law is as much honored under the gospel as under the law. The substitution of Jesus as much displays the wrath of God against sin as even the flames of hell would do. While the Lord is merciful, infinitely so, and his name is love, yet still our God is a consuming fire, and sin shall not live in his sight. I love that, because I've always had that, like, the Old Testament God, New Testament God, they always seem kind of different. But, and there actually was, in the first, 100 years after Christ's death, there was a whole, sort of separation of the church already arising. It's claiming that there was a second God who actually came and and brought Jesus, and that the first God, in order to appease the first God sort of thing. But Jesus was very specific and quoted the quote-unquote old God all the time as the same. But let it really just clue us in on his mercy, that the same thing existed, that all those things were how we were designed to live, things we were to do and not to do, and ways to be towards each other and not to be, and that we would fall short of them, but that he likewise still would brook no breaking of those things. But since we would break those things, and he loved us so dearly, he actually gave of himself that we might actually live in his law, and B, that we might pass from the judgment of that law, of transgressing on that law, which is pretty awesome. And then strive to enter through, this is Luke 13:24. Strive to enter through the narrow gate, for many, I say to you, will seek to enter and will not be able. When once the master of the house has risen up and shut the door, and you begin to stand outside and knock at the door, saying, Lord, Lord, open for us, and he will answer and say to you, I do not know you, where you are from. Then you will begin to say, we ate and drank in your presence, and you taught in our streets. But he will say, I tell you, I do not know you, where you are from. Depart from me, all you workers of iniquity. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And I know that's some harsh stuff to to end on there, but that's the truth of the matter. Is the Son of God, creator of heaven and earth, declared it. Those are the words of Christ, and I will not seek to change them. But now we are not in the time of judgment, but someday there will be that time of judgment. And it will just merely confirm all those who chase death say, okay, well, that's your choice. You chose, and that's your choice. We all have it. But if you choose life, choose eternal life, choose Christ, and then your journey begins right in that instant, and continues till then. And mine's still going on. And it is a trialous and lovely journey.